Well, yes, I'd like to thank the committee and the Rose Bowl and for having us back. And it's been a great journey. And this football team is worked extremely hard, and we feel like we're well prepared. And we're looking forward to playing a great game versus Michigan State. I think the biggest part of what we do and what's happened is guys like Uswa and Ed. And these guys have played a lot of football. They've passed a lot of information down to our young guys, and they've had a lot of information passed on to them. The Richard Shermans, the Mike Thomases, the guys that came before them passed information on to them, and these guys are going to pay it forward. So it's been great. I think what it comes down to is wins and losses. We play the game to win. That's what we do. We go out there to compete. That's what we talk about. That's the end goal. Our guys have fun doing it. Our practices are spirited. It's very competitive, and for us, we're a old school blue collar team. That's it. I know Nerd Nation represents us, well. That's who we are. We own that. That's part of the Stanford brand. But by the same token, we're a tough, physical, tough-minded football team, and that loves to play the game. 60 minutes, 65 minutes, whatever you give us, that's what we'll play. I mean, we've had to make several changes, and you know what? The one thing we talk about is no excuses, no explanations. We're not going to excuse in bad play. These guys want the opportunity to step on the field and play, and that means doing your job. If you're undersized, that's okay. You just need to fight, make sure you keep your hat in the crack, and let's play.
My quickness. If I had to say one part about my game that's my biggest strength, I'd say it's my quickness. That's kind of how I set up. Everything else is based off, that attribute. Yeah, they're a physical football team, as he said. They're going to want to run the ball right at us, and that's what we're going to try and stop. But they bring, a well-rounded attack to the table in terms of their backs, their wide receivers, and their quarterback. In terms of our entire fort, the whole defense and our defensive backs, people pick on them for, pass yardage per game, but they're involved just as much in the run game as we are, because they have their run fits, whether or not it's a safety coming down or a corner, playing the flat. But those guys, we feel that they've tackled as well as, any unit in the country in terms of defensive backs, and they play physical football just like we do up front, and that's what's been able to hold us together.
I think it's just, like you said, just the competitive spirit between guys. We're family when it comes off the field, and when we're playing against someone else. But when we step between those white lines of practice, I wouldn't say it's completely offense versus defense, but we definitely have a kind of competitive spirit where, okay, who's going to win this practice?
We take tremendous pride in hopefully kind of being the prime example in the paradigm of what a student athlete can be in terms of what we do academically and athletically. So I think that we take that very seriously, but at the same time we enjoy it and we want to embrace that kind of mantra and that attitude. And so I think that we've just been kind of keying on making sure that we are focused and polished in what we do. Backside guys on contain, don't pursue the ball too hard. Safety, stay in coverage so we don't get beat on like late play action or trick plays. So I think it's that kind of mentality, focusing on what we do, and kind of polishing those rough edges has been really important for us.
And so I think, football has to be a fun game. You're supposed to enjoy it as much as we do it, but we keep it fun, keep it lighthearted, and we keep each other motivated by just how hard we work. So I think it's a pretty solid combination. For Michigan State to speak to kind of their style of play, I'm sure you've heard it already, but they play a physical run game, especially, and then they kind of have to keep you honest with just enough explosive kind of gadget plays and shots down the field. And so, it's definitely a pretty solid combination as far as what they're doing offensively. So it'll be a challenge for us. The front seven oftentimes gets most of the credit, for everything that's going on. But, we would be nothing without our secondary. And sometimes those guys get overlooked. But, Jordan Richards, Ed Reynolds, Uswa Manum, Alex Carter, he's still a young guy. But, they're all phenomenal players that are kind of the glue that holds this defense together, playing top down and not letting those explosive plays happen and making the quarterback hold the ball, and that's a lot of times why we get home. So
we just have to execute our game plan. They got a bevy of wide receivers, and they have a big O-line, and the running back Langford can make some plays. But I think that our coaches, Coach Mason, Coach Lance Anderson, Randy Hart, they've really put together a great game plan for us, and if we go out and execute it, I think we'll be fine. It's just a pleasure to be involved with the Rose Bowl game once again. I think I always tell my friends and family that the MVP award's a bit misleading because it takes an entire team to winning game. And yeah, just to piggyback off what Ed said, I think to compete and play at this high of a level, you really have to love the game. And something I've noticed in our locker room, even more so than other years, is how many guys really enjoy just going out and playing football. The coaches have made it a great environment for us to go out there and learn and play fast, like Ed said. So, I mean, in terms of spirited practices, I think that's what it really boils down to.